I used to work at a little theme park called Thrillville, USA. No, not the video game. There was an actual amusement park called Thrillville. It was very tiny and secluded though. So don't picture a big place like Six Flags or something in your head. I never enjoyed working there because my shift would always be something different every day and there was an insane amount of weirdos there. But that's irrelevant. The park closed in 2007 and ever since I've been from job to job in the shitty country as town. One cloudy evening on my own in 2009 I decided it would be fun to go check out what's become a thrill though, since it had been shut down and abandoned for 2 years at the time. I pulled up to the parking lot, which was of course empty. The grass surrounding the park was now overgrown, and the overgrown grass waved around in the breeze, suggesting an incoming storm. Sneaking in was easy considering it wasn't fenced off or anything. But it was clear some things had already been torn down. Still, at the time, mostly everything was still standing. But it had become so much creepier now. I began to feel tiny rain droplets, but I didn't really care. I was dressed for rain anyway. Walking around the park was creepy, but the first really disturbing thing didn't actually happen until I heard something stutter behind me. To be honest, I couldn't tell if it was a person or an animal. But something was definitely there. I didn't see anything though. So I just pressed onward, choosing to ignore it. I was snapping constant pictures with my Canon camera that I took along because for a few months I was kind of into photography, a passing interest. I snapped away at different buildings, the defunct roller coaster, the big old yellow slide that was now covered in mud stains. Then there were the buildings like the bathrooms, the main office, the varying maintenance shacks. I decided I would start with the bathrooms. I don't know why I thought that would be interesting, but I did. I stepped into the men's side of the bathrooms, which was obviously pitch black. Inside, the lights no longer works. So I had to turn on the flash on my camera, kind of like that scene from the first Saw movie. I took a picture of the sink-in mirror and checked the image quality. The light flash on my camera was very bright, so pictures in the dark always came out clear. Then I heard the slightest little ting sound. It came from the side of the bathroom with the stalls. I called out, "Someone in here." There were 2 stalls from what I remember. I went over to the first stall and pushed the stall door open slowly. I had my camera into the stall and took the picture. The light revealed nothing but a toilet in the store. I moved on to the next door and pushed the door open. With this one, I was having trouble drawing up the nerve to take the picture. I took about 5 seconds before I pressed the button and the camera light flashed, and in that brief moment of light, I saw a tall figure looming down at me. I shut the stall door and screamed as I ran back outside to the light, and so my car, and I got to my car, I checked the picture I captured in that stall. In the picture was a figure probably 6'3" standing in front of the toilet. But for some reason the face was blurry. I couldn't see any distinguishing features, but it seemed to be a man. As I browsed through some of the other photos, that picked up on something disturbing. And 4 photos out of 10 I found what appeared to be a person hiding somewhere in the distance, but always seemed to be staring at me. In 2 pictures the person was in the woods and 2 others were behind buildings or rides. I never sent those pictures from my camera onto my computer, but I think they're still on the camera. I just haven't seen it in years. Might be in my attic. If I find it, I'll post them online. But I quite frankly never want to see that picture again. This is a story from when I was in middle school. It was the middle of summer vacation, and I had finished all my homework, so I was just enjoying the rest of my vacation. One day, while I was lounging around at home, I received a phone call from a friend. My friend had also finished their summer homework and invited me to go to an amusement park with them. I was bored and had nothing else to do, so I immediately agreed. My friend said they would come to pick me up at my house, so I changed into my outdoor clothes and waited for them to arrive. Soon after, The intercom rang and I hurried to answer it, finding my friend standing outside in casual clothes. "Friend, good morning. It feels like a waste not to go out on such a beautiful day, doesn't it?" "Me, well, yeah. Going out to play on a sunny day might make us feel good." "Friend, right? You can thank me for inviting you to the amusement park." "Me, yeah, let's go to the amusement park. We can talk while we're on the way." "Friend, okay, let's get in the car." My friend got into the car with a somewhat dejected expression. Maybe they wanted to hear some words of appreciation. However, it felt a little early to say thank you when we hadn't even arrived at the amusement park yet. I felt bad, but I decided to wait until later to express my gratitude. I headed to an amusement park in the city by my friend's mother's car. While my friend and I were chatting casually, we arrived at the amusement park shortly. "Friend, speaking of amusement parks, we should ride the roller coaster." "Me, just like that?" "Well, it's okay." At my friend's suggestion, we got on the roller coaster right away. However, to be honest, I'm not very good at thrill rides. To be clear, I'm not good at them. But my friend invited me, and I can't just refuse because I'm not good at it. After somehow surviving the roller coaster, we decided to ride the Ferris wheel. The view from the gondola window was beautiful but scary, and just as I was thinking we were about to complete one lap, there was a dull sound and a shock. My friend and I looked at each other wondering what the sound was, and then red and black liquid began to flow down the window. Then what appeared to be a woman's hand and head dangled outside the window, and I screamed involuntarily. My friend seemed to lose his footing and sat down on the spot. His mother's eyes were wide open in disbelief. As soon as we landed, we ran out of there as fast as we could. However, when we looked back, there was no blood or even the figure of the woman on the gondola window. We looked around, but we couldn't find any trace of the terrible situation we had just witnessed. We didn't understand what was going on, but we had already lost our desire to play and went straight home. It was later revealed that there had been an accident at that amusement park about 10 years ago in which a woman fell from a gondola. Apparently, she had a quarrel with her boyfriend and was pushed off, falling from the top and colliding with the gondola at the bottom. She was immediately transported to a hospital, but she passed away the same day. We don't know if the woman we saw was the same woman who died 10 years ago, or even which gondola she collided with. That gondola may have already been removed. The terrifying sight we saw that day is still burned into our memories. My friend was traumatized and never wants to ride the Ferris wheel again. And I feel the same way. Even the mention of the Ferris wheel fills me with fear. I walked through the gates of the amusement park, my heart pounding with excitement. I had always loved roller coasters and thrill rides, and this park had the reputation of having some of the most intense rides in the world. As I made my way through the park, I couldn't help but notice how empty it was. It was a weekday and most people were probably at work or school, but I had expected to see at least a few other visitors. The silence was almost eerie, broken only by the distant sound of the rides and the occasional bird chirping. I decided to start with the biggest ride in the park, a towering coaster called the Beast. As I waited in line, I noticed that there were only a handful of people ahead of me. The operators seemed to be in a hurry to get everyone on the ride and start it up. I wondered if they were understaffed or if there was some other reason for the rush. When it was my turn, I took a seat in the front row and strapped myself in. The ride began to move, slowly at first, but then it picked up speed as it climbed the first hill. The wind rushed past me, and I could feel my adrenaline pumping as we soared through the twists and turns of the coaster. But as we reached the top of the highest hill, something went wrong. The coaster started to shake violently, and I heard a loud metal creaking sound. I could see the panic on the faces of the other riders, and I realized that something was seriously wrong. The coaster suddenly jerked to a stop, leaving us stranded at the top of the hill. My heart raced as I looked around, trying to figure out what was happening. I could hear the operators shouting into their radios, but their voices were drowned out by the sound of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. As the minutes ticked by, I began to feel a sense of dread creeping over me. I realized that I was trapped at the top of a broken coaster, hundreds of feet in the air, with no way down. My mind raced with thoughts of all the things that could go wrong, from the coaster suddenly collapsing to being struck by lightning. Eventually, after what felt like an eternity, the operators were able to get the coaster moving again, and we slowly made our way back to the station. I stumbled off the ride, my legs feeling weak and wobbly. I realized then that thrill rides were not worth risking my life for, and I quickly made my way out of the park, vowing never to return.